What is ESPN's beef with Miami? That's how I walked out of yesterday feeling. I watched Miami play a game against Virginia Tech on the road up there in Blacksburg. Got a dub 34-17. Beating Virginia Tech is always dope. We got a lot of history with those people. But really, I walked away from the day feeling like ESPN seemed like they got a bone to pick with the Canes. So we definitely gonna get into that. First of all, appreciate everybody tuning in. This is the first video on this page, the Somebody Said Canes YouTube page. I have other videos on the main site of Somebody Said Sports. This is part of the Somebody Said Sports Network. Appreciate anybody tuning in. Please hit the like. Please hit the subscribe. Definitely will appreciate that. Once I'm able to get up to 100 subscribers here on this page, I'll be doing live shows where people can come in, they can do comments. As I mentioned on my very, very first Somebody Said Kane show that posted on the Somebody Said Sports page, big time Canes fan, of course. I'm having some friends come along with me. We're going to talk everything Canes, recruiting, games, roster, coaching, everything that all Canes fans be talking about anyway. We're going to do all of that on this show. We're going to break down game film, and it's going to be year round. So please hit the like, please hit the subscribe. You're going to want to be around. If you enjoy Canes content, if you're a Canes fan, you definitely want to be a part of this. Again, please do me a big, big favor. Hit that subscribe button. All right, let's get into some talk about what happened yesterday. So yesterday was Saturday, November the 22nd. As I mentioned, Miami went up to Blacksburg to play Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech is down bad. They fired their coach this season. Now they've already hired their coach for next season. It's going to be James Franklin. But as far as this year goes, the season is in the toilet. Like, let's just call it what it is. The season is in the toilet. But, they're a scrappy team, right? That's a fan base that's proud of their program. The stadium was packed, sold out game. So big salute to the Virginia Tech fan base because they still packing that stadium out. And that team really ain't worth watching like that. So big shout out to them. Again, they've already hired their coach for next year. But as far as this season goes, they don't really have a lot to play for, but the team is still scrappy. Regardless, as you can see in the graphic, Miami was able to get a final score of 34-17. Really, Virginia Tech was able to make it feel or seem a little more interesting towards the end than it really was. This game really wasn't close. We're going to double back to that a little bit later when we talk about some of that ESPN bias and some of the nonsense that I heard and seen on ESPN yesterday during and after the game. But as far as the game goes, Miami doubled them up in points. Again, 34-17. That brings Miami to 5 straight wins against the Virginia Tech Hokies. We won 8 out of the last 10 matchups. Virginia Tech, in my lifetime, has always felt like one of those teams that's kind of a thorn in our side. I feel like they have given us troubles when they shouldn't have. I feel like we've dropped a couple games to them when we had no business losing to them. Going back to the Vic days, both Vic brothers giving us problems, especially up there in Blacksburg. So anytime you can get a dub against Virginia Tech, I'm going to be down for that. Now, I know some fans aren't overly excited about the final score because of the way the game ended. It didn't end as clean as it was, but if we keep it in a buck, this game really wasn't that close. Halftime, score was 20-3. Yes, they come on the third quarter and they score in their opening drive. But honestly, when you go back and you put the film on, you'll realize that we kind of helped them with the penalties. We had a few penalties. One of them was sketchy to help them go down the field and extend that drive. Otherwise, we were pretty dominant. Then they get it the late touchdown, which brings the score a little bit closer. That's how they got up to 17. At the time, Miami had 27 points. And then we go up the onside kick. Why is Wesley Bassane on the hands team? I don't know, man. I don't know. He out there for a reason, I guess, man. But, honestly, give me somebody else. Regardless, they get the onside kick. They got that late touchdown. They made the score 27-17 at the time. Miami was able to get the ball back. We go down, we score another touchdown to extend the lead 34-17, which looks a little bit better. But we got to remember, dog, like winning games can be difficult. So I'm not blowing my nose at this win. Would I have loved for us to really stay locked in all the way through where we don't give up that late touchdown because 34-10 looks better than 34-17? Sure. But you went and got a dub against a team that does have some talent. That receiver, Green, that boy's great. Kyron Jones, but he'll make some plays. Virginia Tech always got a couple of running backs that could be an issue. So I'm not really blowing my nose at this dub. Miami moves to 9-2, which is good. We're on the precipice of a back-to-back 10-win season. I had to look it up. I should have did it before I came on, but it's been a while since we've won back-to-back double-digit games or seasons with back-to-back double-digit wins. So again, this moves a bit closer to that. So I'm not going to blow my nose at it. As part of my game reviews, I also want to go ahead and do something that I'm still some from the NHL. I watch a lot of hockey too. They do this thing called 3 stars, where basically you call out your 3 best players of the game. So your third star guy, that was he gets, he was the least of the best in the game. Your 1-star guy was basically your player of the game, 2nd star of the game, 3rd star, right? So a lot of players, they just do player of the game and that's kind of it. But when you do that, you leave out some people who also did some good stuff. So the 3 stars of the game give you some opportunity to show love for some other people. So I'm gonna steal that model. I'm gonna go through that because I think that shows some love to more people, because not just one person deserves love, multiple people deserve love. So I'm gonna start with my 3rd star of the game. I'm a little conflicted that this guy ended up having to be one of the stars in the game, and I'm gonna tell you why. My 3rd star of the game is Zachariah Porzer. As far as the stat sheet goes, he finished with 10 tackles, 1 sack, 1 TFL, and a fumble recovery. Now, Zachariah Porzer is a transfer, first year at Miami, and double-digit tackles. Okay, cool. But usually when your safeties are your leading tacklers, or a safety is the leading tackler, that means some things went wrong. And in this game, some things did go wrong. Virginia Tech was able to kind of stress Miami by running horizontally. They basically was running a triple option. Felt like we was playing Georgia Tech, right? Spread, triple option, a lot of stuff going to the boundaries. And Miami just did not do a good job of setting edges, keeping guys contained. A couple of plays broke for big runs. And so the safeties were being asked to clean up a lot of things. And I got to give Zachariah Porter credit because he did do that. Now, he did clean up a lot. That's how he ended up with the 10 tackles, which you need that. When the guys in front of you aren't handling business, when your D-line isn't necessarily handling their business the way you like to see them do it, the linebackers aren't filling the gaps and keeping things contained, your safety's got to be able to clean it up. And I felt like Porter did a really, really good job of cleaning that up. And again, you rather him not have to. You rather that not be the case. But it was, and he did what was asked of him. So, shout out to him. I appreciate what Porter did out there today. I felt like he had a really good game, considering the guys in front of him really weren't doing what they needed to do. And that's kind of what the broadcasters were using maybe a little bit to say that we didn't get enough style points. We ain't passing the eye test. All right, bro. But shout out to Porzer. My 2nd star of the game, that boy Malachi Tony. Stat-wise, 12 catches, 146 yards with a catch and touchdown, 3 rushes for 16 yards, and of course, just to fill the stat sheet a little bit more, 1 pass for 15 yards. Of course, Molly does everything, man. Like, this kid is special. When he was being recruited and he was committed, and then he was decommitted, and it was a lot of energy being spent on making sure we got him in his class. He reclassified to graduate early, dropped down to a 3-star prospect. But you could tell that Mario was dead serious about not letting this kid leave. And dog, this might go down as one of the most impactful recruiting wins Mario Cristobal has as a Miami Hurricanes head coach, because this jit is special. Dog, you see, you can hand him the ball, you can throw him the ball, he can throw the ball. To get that last touchdown to move the score from 27-17 to 34-17, we were in a slot fade to Molly. He like 5'8", and went up and got one on somebody's head. But this is just special, man. Like, there are people who are just football players. One of the ones that I always think of is Quentin Flowers, Winky. He ended up going to USF, playing quarterback, and winning a lot of games, and literally carried that team. He's the reason why Willie Taggart gets the Oregon job, which is why he gets the Florida State job. Willie Taggart owes Quentin Flowers money. Like he got those contracts because of Quentin Flowers and him just being special. Quentin was just a football player. Like, just put him on the field and just put the ball in his hands, and he's gonna make things happen. Molly's like that, right? Like Molly, just get him the ball and let him go to work. They moved him around in a lot of different areas, so it's hard for defenses to key on him again. Had him line up in the backfield, taking handoffs as a running back, jet sweeps, going in motion, catching screens, slot fades, catching one on somebody's head. He can stretch the field. He catch everything around him, middle of the field. He converted a real big third down call, I think it was. Now he converted it. He always knows where to be. Like the kid is just special, man. Like we have not had a freshman like this in quite a while. Like just different. And I think he's about 80 yards away from breaking the freshman receiving yards record set by Amon Richards a few years ago. So Molly was special. He had another great game. He does this kind of every week, right? Molly is just that dude every week, man. So he's the 2-star of the night guy. My number 1 star, and I was afraid to even speak on how he was playing during the game because I didn't want to jinx it. Carson Beck, dog. Watching the game, rewatching the game, Carson Beck was dealing. This might have been Carson's best game, which is crazy because I felt like last game I said this is Carson's best game. In the game before that, I felt like I said this is Carson's best game. Carson is getting better as the season goes. Stat wise, 27 for 32, 320 passing yards, 4 passing touchdowns, no picks. And not only did he not throw a pick, I really didn't feel like he put the ball in danger except for maybe once. And that was kind of more so on a miscommunication. But, bro, he had an amazing game. Seeing the field well, delivering the ball on time. He even ran a couple times. He slid, which I wish he would just fall down instead of sliding because every time Carson slides, they deduct like 2 yards off him. He had one where he should have got a first down. It was a second down. He scrambled and ran. He slid. They end up making a 3rd and 1. They're deducting like 2 yards every time Carson slides. And I'm glad that he slides and he's not taking hits. But bro, just fall down. Like, you don't know how to just fall, bro. Like we're giving up 2 yards that you gain because they're deducting 2 yards every time you slide. But other than that, man, Carson played an incredible game, man. His eyes were good. His mechanics were in the right place. He just seemed in control the entire game. He seemed comfortable the entire game. Like he never looked rattled, never really looked like he didn't know what was going on around him. And quiet as kept since that Louisville game, and I'll say the SMU interception in overtime. Carson's been money. Like this has been the Carson Beck that we went on. We paid $3-4 million for. I feel like we kind of getting our money's worth on Carson right now. Like he is living up to the hype somewhat, and the money don't feel crazy at the moment. Like Carson he's been locked in. Like I really like what I'm seeing from Carson lately, man. So big shout out to him. First star of the night. I thought he was the player of the game. Again, you go out and you throw for 300 plus yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks, not putting the ball in danger. You kind of got to get player of the game. You kind of got to get that first star. So big shout out to Carson. Definitely will need him to play like that next week at Pittsburgh. Absolutely going to need him to be on his game. He's got to be locked in again. He's got to continue this momentum because we're going to need to score points. Pittsburgh, as you just saw, they put it on Georgia Tech and they scored a lot of points. Pittsburgh has been scoring a lot of points on everybody. So we're going to have to score points. And that means Carson's got to be locked in. He's got to be the Carson that we've seen the last few weeks. If he does that, then we'll have a really good opportunity to go up there and get a dub on the road at Pittsburgh. So big shout out to them boys in that game. Other quick thoughts just on the game before I move on to talk about this ESPN hate that we received all day yesterday. Let's talk about Dawson, Shannon, the OC. And that man he's off the leash. Like we talked a lot about early in the year. A lot of fans were talking about how play calling was too conservative. All we do is run the ball up the inside. Too many screens. Bro, Dawson is dialing it up. Like the offensive playbook has never been more open. That thing is 7-11, 24 hours. and he is dialing that thing up. I thought he called an incredible game. Never really got overly conservative, even when we had the lead. He was still mixing it up, running different things on the jet sweeps, the reverses. Maybe one too many jet sweeps for my liking, especially on that last possession. Now, last play, he throws a slot fade to Marley that goes for a touchdown, but he ran like back-to-back jet sweeps, and I wasn't a big fan of that. But this is not that slow, plodding, eating up clock offense that we saw earlier in the year. The bunch set, tired of seeing that bunch set. We're not really seeing it no more. You're seeing all types of different personnel. They came out in a full house formation, not the gun, where you have Molly, Gerard Pringle, and Elijah Lofton in the backfield, all with Carson. Molly goes in motion, hand off to Lofton. Like he's throwing out some looks that you haven't seen before. So kudos to Mario for letting him really get into this bag. And kudos for him for having this in the bag. Because there was a lot of people starting to question, like, is he really that dude? Do we need to move on at the coordinator position? And I feel like Dawson has kind of quieted that noise. And maybe he was on the leash. Maybe Mario wasn't letting him, get busy like that. Well, he's getting busy like that now. Like, not only is he off the leash, bro, he off the yard. He done jumped off the porch, man. And I love what I'm seeing out of Dawson, the creativity, still power run scheme, still getting downhill on folks, seeing some outside zone runs. He'll say in the interviews that he not calling no different plays. Like, bro, you're calling different plays. Stop the cap. Like that's I was just, bro, we watch these games 1, 2, sometimes 3 times. This fan base ain't missing nothing. And you can say all you want that you're not calling different plays, bro. We see you calling different plays, right? And it's cool. It's like we appreciate it. Like that's what we want from you. Call some different plays because what you was calling was too static. It was too slow. We were extending the game. We were helping teams stay in the game by not pushing the pace, by not opening things up on the field wise, not just in play calling, but also on the field, man. Spreading teams out. We have better athletes than most teams we face in the ACC. So you running condensed, power run only without the balance of those spread concepts, you are letting teams stay in games and they really had no business. Honestly, if the offense was calling plays like this weeks ago, we probably don't lose to SMU. Hate to say it. You hate to be looking back and saying like dang, if we was doing this before, we would be straight. Well, that's the case. And it sucks, but it is what it is. But I'm glad to see him learn from it. Glad to see Mario seemingly learning from it. Mario, every year I feel like Mario has fixed problems that existed before. So big shout out to Mario, big shout out to Shannon Dawson. Last thing, bro, the ACC refs. Man, I feel like Martin, every time Pam walked in, anytime Pam walked in the door, Martin didn't have nothing good to say about Pam. That's how I feel about ACC refs. I have nothing good to say about these people. These people stink. And I do mean hot trash. I do mean Friday night house party. You loaded up the garbage can. You put it on the road Saturday morning. It's been sitting out there in that Florida heat till Monday afternoon when the garbage man come over. And that thing stank. Just garbage. That's how I feel about ACC refs. These people are just horrible at their job, bro. Like they're making games almost unbearable to watch. Like these people are god awful. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just do a quick Twitter search. ACC refs, Miami Virginia Tech game. Honestly, you could probably look at any game. These refs are bad every single week. Can Ruben Bain get a holding call? My God. Like, can dog get a holding call? Like, it's bad, man. It's bad. The fourth down stuff that they did in this Virginia Tech game, not reviewing a clearly dropped pass that looked like it was using a camera from 72 when Bird before Bird was even running with the Celtics. Like this camera was terrible. Even then, you could see the ball was on the ground and they review it and still call it a catch. What are we doing, man? Like ACC, fix your refs. You see at the bottom of my screen, that's what I got as my headline. ACC, fix your refs, dog. Like this is a dumb problem to have, man. Like, come on, man. And then there's no suspensions ever. Like, they don't come out and say anything about how terrible the refs were. The SEC is now suspending refs on the spot and letting everybody know that these people are suspended. ACC, get your stuff together. All right, this is why we out of here in 2030. That's it on the game, though, man. Again, a good win. I haven't had a chance to watch the all 22. I've only watched the regular broadcast a couple of times. And I like what I saw offensively. Defensively, we got to clean up what we did against the run. We let Virginia Tech run for way too many yards. They had way too much success on the ground, and we got to fix that. But other than that, I really like most of what I saw in this game. Even with giving up a lot of those runs, you really only gave up 3 scoring possessions, and you kind of gave them one of those with penalties. So clean that stuff up, get right. Also, defense dealing with a lot of injuries. You finished this game without Jacoby Thomas. You came into the game without David Blay, without OJ Federic. So we're already missing guys. Wesley Bassane is clearly playing hurt. Looks like a shoulder deal. So you really banged up, man, and you got to just push through. You're getting that to that point in the season where guys are going to be hurt. Everybody's dealing with something. You got to push through. You got to find ways to get to the finish line. You got a huge game against Pitt next week. Your whole season lies in the balance of the Pitt game because of the games you've already dropped. So guys got to push through. We gotta make things happen. Let's flip the topic real quick and talk about this anti-Miami bias. There was a point in this game where I almost put the game on mute. Like I almost could not listen to Louis Riddick no more. If I heard him say style points or eye test one more time, bro, I was gonna commit a crime. Bro. I was gonna throw my phone at the TV. Like I want to physically do harm to somebody. Listen to this man talk. You spent the whole game talking about they're not getting enough style points. They're not passing the eye test, bro. Eye tests and style points are not statistical metrics to measure what team should get in a playoff. They're not. Because what's eye test to you versus eye test to me ain't the same thing. And what is a style point? Like, come on, man. Like, what is the barometer, right? Does it need to be a 20-point win, 30, 40, 50 point? What does the point differential need to be for it to be enough style points? Like, come on, man. That's way too ambiguous, man. That's way too much guessing and room for interpretation. Like, what are you doing? And you get on that broadcast and you spend, I felt like, so much of the game talking about that. Like, who's paying you to talk down on the Canes like this? Like, why? Who told you to go out there and do that? And then you get on Twitter after the game, you talking about head to head games matter, and you talking about stuff that you should have been saying on the broadcast. But instead, you decide to talk about eye tests and style points on top of a 45-minute conversation with James Franklin. Why am I listening to James Franklin over the broadcast? I don't want to hear this, man. The man got fired. I don't want to hear that. ESPN. And then, if that ain't bad enough, halftime I'm subjected to Joey Galloway, who I feel like Joey Galloway just open his mouth and words fall out. Like Joey Galloway just say stuff. Like, and then he contradict himself. And they bring him back on later, and he'll contradict himself again. Like ESPN, what are we doing, man? Like, what are we doing? And then they do stuff like this here, and this one caught my attention. I was blowed when I seen this. Everybody knows the ticker, right? Like, I got a ticker. See how the ticker works? Scrolls across the bottom of the screen. ESPN's ticker is usually showing scores, and they'll give you stats. So, of course, last night I'm watching the Pitt Georgia Tech game, and the ticker is coming across my screen. And then the Miami game comes up. Now, every other game that it came up, you saw the score, you saw some stats, and it went to the next game. Only Miami didn't have stats on their ticker. This is what they had on our ticker. Second game outside the state of Florida this season. What that got to do with anything? What that got to do with the price of sandals in Jerusalem? Why are we showing me this instead of showing me stats like every other game in the country? Every other game in the country, you showed me stats, but for the Miami game, you want to tell us that it's the second game outside the state of Florida? Who cares? But what does that matter? And then you went out of your way to say that they lost to SMU. So of all the things to say about Miami in this season, this is what you're choosing to show in this week? Like, this is what you're going with. To call out the fact that we lost to SMU and this is our second game outside the state. ESPN, that's nasty business. ESPN, that's nasty business, man. And if that wasn't bad enough, they went with this here too. Miami survives a scare. Scared where? When was we scared? The game Miami led this game by double digits, starting in the second quarter to the end of the game. I want to say it was like 32 out of 40 minutes or something like that. Where was the scare? Where was the scare? Matter of fact, ESPN's own predictor never had Miami lower than a 90% win probability. So where was the scare, ESPN? Where was it? ESPN going out of their way to slight Miami, going out of their way to call out our losses and say that we was in a dog fight or we was scared in the Virginia Tech game doesn't make any sense to me because ESPN is partners with the ACC. You would think that ESPN is trying to push Miami so they can get in over a BYU or maybe over a Utah. But no, you talking down on Miami, which allows those other teams that don't benefit you them getting in. Utah getting in does not benefit that, but it does not benefit ESPN. ESPN is business partners with the ACC, so you should want to see ACC teams getting in. You should be pushing for Miami, but y'all doing this instead. You got Louis Riddick out there talking crazy. You talking about calling out the loss to SMU, which was weeks ago, and then you talking about we was in a scare when the game was in hand basically the whole way. It was a dominant performance. I want to say Miami scored on like 5 of 7 possessions or something like that, 6 of 8. Opening drive, march right up the field, put 7 of them people. What are we doing, ESPN? Like, what are we doing? What is with the anti-Miami bias? I really don't understand it. Like I really do not understand not when to save my life. Like it just does not make sense. You kind of taking money out of your own pocket, and it's goofy. It's goofy. Let's call it what it is. It's goofy. Do better, ESPN. Got to do better. Before I wrap this thing up, because we're gonna keep these short, 30 minutes. We in and out. Really quickly, want to talk about the ACC championship game scenarios because there is still a chance for Miami to play for the ACC championship, which, if they were to get in and win it, would guarantee a spot in the college football playoffs. So these are what the scenarios look like. Not going to go into all of these. If you look, Miami is the 5th team listed, and it shows the different scenarios by which we could get in. The first one is the most simple, and so I'm going to just stick with that one because I'm not going to get into all these other ones and tiebreakers and all that. This coming Saturday, what Miami needs to happen on November the 29th. Miami, of course, has to win at Pitt. A SMU win with a Duke loss and a Virginia loss gets Miami in the ACC championship game. I believe with a rematch against SMU, and I definitely want that. Sign me up for that because we should have watched them people. So Miami beat Pitt, SMU get a win versus Cal, Duke loses versus Wake Forest, and Virginia losing to Virginia Tech. That would get Miami in the ACC championship game. There are other scenarios where they just get funky and they get convoluted and complicated. I'm not going to get into all of those. So for Miami Hurricanes, that's what we're cheering for. Miami win, an SMU win, a Duke loss, and a Virginia loss. Right? Cool. There are other scenarios that can get us in, but that was the most simplistic. Finally, what are we looking for in the college football playoff scenario? So the committee is going to put out their rankings in a couple of days on Tuesday night, and their last rankings had Miami at 13. As far as Miami getting into the playoffs, we need to get up to the 10th spot, right? We talked about there's an opportunity to get into the ACC championship game, and if they do that, then fine, and then we'll be in. Cool. But it's not necessarily likely that'll happen. So if that does not happen, we need some help. We got to get to that 10th spot. You need a BYU to lose. We need a Utah to lose. Kansas State, how did you blow that? And we're going to need some other help, right? Can Auburn upset Alabama? Can LSU upset Oklahoma? All right, there's some other games. There's a couple other games in there where we can get an upset or a loss that could really do us a big solid, and we could find ourselves at the 10th spot. We got to get to the 10th spot because the 11th and 12th spot are going to go to a couple of conference champions. Got to get to that 10th spot. So that's what we're looking for. get to the 10 spot. If you don't get in the ACC championship game, if you get into the ACC championship game, then it really don't even matter. Just go win it. Go win that and you're in. You're locked in. But if that doesn't happen, then we got to find a way, or we need help. We need other teams to lose. Still got to win at Pitt, of course, but you need some other teams to lose in front of us to help us get to that 10 spot, and that would lock us into college football playoff. I wanted to clear that up because I know they keep showing that prediction and it's got Miami in there at the 11 or the 12 spot, and that's not going to happen. It's a placeholder for the conference champions who are really probably going to get that 11th and 12th spot if Miami does not win the ACC championship game. All right. Went through a lot of stuff. Appreciate everybody tuning in again. Please hit that subscribe. Please hit the like. Tell a Kane to tell a Kane to tell a Kane, man, because I'm going to be dropping a lot of content on there, on this page, bringing my homies with me, bringing folks with me. Anything I said you don't disagree with, if there's anything I said that you disagree with, drop in the comments and let me know, man. Check, feel free to check me. Call me out. You feel differently on something. But appreciate everybody tuning in, I said, and I will be back next week. Next week, we're going to play Pitt on Saturday. Hopefully, I'm back in here talking about a dub. We're going to see some updated CFP rankings. Maybe Miami jumps Utah because they barely beat a Kansas State team that really ain't that good. Talk about eye tests. Talking about style points. Louis Riddick. They really didn't get them. So maybe we move up to that 12 spot. They jump if they put Vandy in front of us, boy, I'm gonna lose it. Anyway, I'll be back next Sunday to break it all down. Appreciate everybody tuning in as always. Go Kane.